So tonight, our keynote speaker knows the pain that we all go through. Andrew is here with his wife, Rachel, lost their little Bean at 9 months old. Andrew is a CNN investigative reporter and also a bereaved father. So I'm welcoming Andrew to the stage, and I just want to say thank you for being here. Thank you for sharing your story, and thank you for being a part of this community. And Rachel, we're really thankful that you're here too. So please welcome our keynote speaker, CNN investigative reporter, Andrew Kaczynski.
I remember every detail of the day my daughter was diagnosed with brain cancer at 9 months old. It was a perfect September day without a cloud in the sky. I remember feeling the breeze as we laid in the glass with Francesca, who we nicknamed Beans, thinking life couldn't get any better than this. Like so many families here today, that day will be etched in my mind forever. It was on that day I entered a world that I did not know, where my life stood still, but all around me, everything seemed to kept on going. It was on that day I learned firsthand about childhood cancer. Every 3 minutes in this world, a new child gets diagnosed with cancer, and a new family enters it. Nationally, 1 in every 285 kids get diagnosed with cancer, which is the #1 disease-related killer of children. What is childhood cancer? Childhood cancer is waking up one morning not knowing your life is about to be shattered with a diagnosis. Childhood cancer is emergency surgeries called to loved ones to break the news of the diagnosis. It's dropping your entire life, your work, social life, visits with friends to care for your kid. It's visits to oncologists, specialists, and surgeons in the days following a diagnosis. It's a trip to and from the hospital every day and sitting by your child's side as they struggle through treatment. It is holding your children and loved ones as they try to understand what has happened to you and why life has pushed this terrible burden on you. It's smiles and entertainments in the hospital, making the best of the world's worst situation, sitting by your child's side through the diagnosis and putting on a strong face for them, carrying your kids home in your arms because they're not feeling well and just want to be held. It's the triumph of beating the disease and the euphoria of a good scan, trips to physical therapy because treatment doesn't end when childhood cancer is over. It's struggling to pay bills and moving away from family for treatment and doing every single thing you would ever do to save your child's life. It is being with your child as they die and going on because you have no other choice. My child died of cancer. My child had cancer, but her story isn't finished. She lives on in our fight and efforts to beat this disease. She lives on in the hope and joy she inspired in this world. And she lives on in my wife and I, remembering her every day and all of those lessons that she taught us. When you lose a child to cancer, your life is never, ever, ever the same. We call it the dividing line in our lives. I'm never going to be the same, and nobody here will either. When Francesca was diagnosed and when she died, the outpouring of love and support was something I was never imagined. I want to help anybody that I can because of what was given to us. Francesca was real, and she was perfect. Even though I am in the midst of so much heartbreak, I am filled with such joy, knowing that advances are being made, and knowing that so many doctors and researchers are working hard, even with the odds they face, to create better outcomes for children with cancer. It is knowing so many families that have kept their kids alive, and even had them thrive after relapses through sheer will and determination, even when doctors told them there was nothing they can do and the odds seemed long and hard. It's the spirit I see of so many people here today, of their families and children, those who have survived, those who have passed, and those who are still fighting with us and coming together to fight for better funding, better treatment, and letting the world know that childhood cancer is not some real or far-off suffering to be pushed away. It is watching families turn their greatest heartbreak into hope, fighting in their child's memory so that childs don't have to go through, and other families don't have to go through what they went through. I think about the parents of Gabriella Miller, who died of TIBG, and who spoke at this same event 8 years ago. In her speech, Gabriella said, "If not now, when?" In the year after her death, Congress passed the Gabriella Miller Act to help fund childhood cancer research at the National Institute of Health. Today, her mom, Ellen, is fighting to pass another bill in Gabrielle's honor, which could potentially fund research for hundreds of millions of dollars for childhood cancer. I think about Nancy Goodman, whose son passed away at the age of 10. Nancy helped pass the Creating Hope and Race for Children Act, which is incentivizing the development of drugs for kids with cancer. And she's working on another bill, the Give Kids a Chance Act, which will do the same to require more pediatric studies. I know it is hard for people like me to think about when we have lost a child, but there are incredible advances being made in childhood cancer research in the last few decades. The type of cancer Francesca had was only classified in the mid-1990s, and it was universally fatal until some incredible oncologists, including ours at Dana-Farber, helped develop a protocol which has let 1/3 of the kids survive, and how every day they are working with new clinical trials that are showing promise in preventing disease and relapse, and how the $1.4 million we've raised through Team Bean funds will make sure this important and underfunded work continues. But I also think of how far we have to go, how we still have childhood cancers that are usually universally fatal upon diagnosis. That's an injustice, that's unfair, and it is up to us to change it. Improving outcomes won't be simple. Given the small market of patients, the profit-driven industry will never develop a miracle drug for pediatric brain cancers, and to this date, there has never been a drug approved for pediatric brain cancer, ever. Instead, fixing the world for our children is going to require more of everything. More funding for the National Cancer Institute and the Defense Department's peer-reviewed cancer research program, stronger requirements for pharmaceutical industry to share their drugs with oncologists, and improved data sharing. Why must we do this? The average child who dies of cancer loses 70 years of life. That's 70 years of life that my daughter won't get to live. Globally, that's millions of years of life we will lose each year when children die of cancer. We are losing generations of children, and we are not doing enough. For those children who do survive, immediate long-term challenges related to their cancer are often a continuing burden, and many families will often face tens of thousands of dollars in out-of-pocket medical costs related to speech, physical, and emotional therapy for years. Curing childhood cancer doesn't just mean survivorship, but developing less toxic treatments, and there is still so much more to be done. When Francesca died, I received a very kind message from a complete stranger I'd like to share with you. She said to me, "Her life is not going to be measured in time, but instead in the love that you feel for her. You have had the gift of knowing a love that steals your heart. Be kind, be empathetic. I will never be the person I was before, but I am accepting who I am. Treat others with respect because you don't know what they are going through." That's what Beans taught me, and she continues to teach me. Beans, we will never forget you, and we will never give up this fight for you or every other child and family. Thank you.
Andrew and Rachel, thank you all for your strength. Thank you all for being here. And to our bereaved parents as well. We are honored that you allowed us to honor your kids. And to Bean, we are thankful that we get to honor her legacy.